Hey good people, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of 254 Rugby, and not just any episode. This is a milestone episode at that. You see, this is episode 50, and first off, a big thank you to every single one of you who's tuned in, who has shared, who has liked, commented, and supported this journey from day one. We started this really to tell authentic rugby stories from Kenya, from Africa, and beyond. And 50 episodes later, here we are. We are still going strong. I must tell you, it's been a labor of love, but I guess you've got to do the things that you love. You know what I'm talking about. So what's going on? In the words of Dominic Papa Habimana, a man who's coached Kenya Harlequin, who's coached Nakuru, and who's been an assistant coach for the Kenya Simbas, what's going on? Not a lot happening on the local scene at the moment, but there's one event that already has fans talking, and that is the Safari Sevens. The 2025 edition of the Safari Sevens is set for the 10th to the 12th of October at the Nyayo National Stadium in Nairobi. And this year we have a total of 20 teams, 12 in the men's category and 8 in the women's category, confirmed for the tournament, which was once billed as Africa's premier rugby sevens event. Leading the charge in the men's category are the defending champions Shujaa. We've also got the second string Kenya side, the Morans, as well as the Kenya National 7th Circuit champions for 2025 KCB Rugby, who will be looking to make a mark on the international stage. And then we also have from Uganda, the defending champions of the Uganda Rugby Sevens Circuit, or is it the newly crowned champions, the Walukuba Barbarians. We also have the Uganda Rugby Cranes. They have been regular competitors at the Safari Sevens. They've never missed a single edition since the very first one in 1996. We also have our brothers from Southern Africa in Zimbabwe and Zambia, as well as some European flair in the form of the UK Select, Apache Rugby, the French Renegades, and Shogun, and even a team from the French Indian Ocean territory of Réunion. All of these are set to bring flair and competition to the capital. The women's category, the field looks just as exciting. Defending champions Costa Blanca Barbarians from Spain are back to defend their crown. They'll face off against the two Lionesses sides, the Lionesses 1 and Lionesses 2. They'll face off against Uganda, Belgium, Tunisia, Shogun, and Zimbabwe. Now, guys, let's be honest. The profile of Safari Sevens has suffered over the past, I'd say, 13, 14, 15 years, and we all know why. A mix of greed, mismanagement, and misplaced priorities has eroded what used to be one of the most respected rugby sevens tournaments in Africa and a highlight on the global sevens calendar. Between 1996, when the tournament started, and say up to about 2010, the Safari Sevens wasn't just a tournament. It was an experience. Fans packed the stands, local and international stars, they rubbed shoulders, and Nairobi came alive with rugby energy. Those were the days, I must say, when Safari Sevens meant something. When you'd say that you've been to RFUA or Nyayo or Costa, depending on where the tournament was held, especially after 2010, manze, that thing, it carried weight. As a rugby diehard, it's my sincere hope that the tournament regains a high profile, that professionalism, and the respect that it once commanded. Why? Because Kenya deserves a world-class event that showcases not only our talent, but our passion, our spirit for the game, and more importantly, our organizational capacity. I mean, Kenya needs to be hosting a lot more. Yes, we've hosted events. We've hosted CHAN. We've hosted the World Athletics Under 18 Championships. We've hosted African Championships, Safari Rally. But I think we need to portray ourselves as a sports tourism destination, not only sports tourism, but sports and conferencing destination. And it is through the success in the way we host such events that matter. And I mean, let's just not host events for the sake of hosting events. I remember last year's Safari Sevens held in Machakos. I mean, man, it was all about, I think in my opinion, Bora rugby instead of rugby Bora. But you know, we need to be hosting quality events with quality teams. And to host a quality event means that you have to give an experience that is memorable, both in terms of logistical and organizational, deliverables, as well as fan experiences and so on and so forth. And you know, something that also makes whoever is partnering with you, feel like, this was a worthwhile investment. I could rant about this, but hey, I'm trying to keep this to about 15 to 20 minutes, and we'll rant about that in other platforms. Anyway, as a rugby diehard, like I said, let's just have a good event, good rugby, and hope that the Safari Sevens in 2025 is the beginning of the revival of the Safari Sevens. Now, remember, this is our 50th episode, and because it is the 50th episode of 254 Rugby, we are giving back. What are we giving back? We are giving back 4 tickets. So 4 lucky fans have the chance to experience the Safari Sevens live, courtesy of 254 Rugby. We are giving away 4 regular season tickets. The details will be up on our social media pages if they are not already up. So just keep an eye out. Go to our social media pages. If you're not following already, follow, subscribe, share, and be on a lookout for the quizzes. Remember, the quizzes close on the Wednesday before Safari Sevens. I'm trying to work backwards, so that'll be on the 8th of October. On the 9th of October is when we announce the winners and send them the tickets. And from the 10th to the 12th, you get to enjoy the Safari Sevens and get to be a part of the experience. Boom. Well, that's it. Now let's go to international rugby. We don't have a lot of time. I'm just being told I've got to stick within the 15-minute limit, and we're already at 8 minutes. Now, international rugby will come after Floodlits. I was about to forget about Floodlits, because immediately after the Safari Sevens, we head straight into one of Kenya's longest running and most beloved traditions in rugby, the Impala Floodlit 15s Rugby Tournament, popularly known as Floodlits. This tournament has been played since 1983. It has marked the start of the 15th season, a pre-season test of strength, structure, and squad depth. The only time Floodlits was not played was in 2020 and 2021 because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Otherwise, it has been a constant in Kenya's rugby calendar over 4 years. The 2025 Floodlits draw was released late last week, and we've got some interesting, mouth-watering quarterfinal fixtures. Defending champions Menengai Oilers play against the most successful team in Floodlits history, KCB Rugby. And what can we say about this clash? This is a heavyweight clash right from the get-go. Hosts Impala take on Mwamba RFC, while there's Kenya Harlequin against Kenyatta University Black Blood, while nondescripts play against the Strathmore Leos. What can we say again? Expect some fire rugby under the lights, and as always, we will keep you posted right here on 254 Rugby. Okay, there was international rugby this past weekend. There has been international rugby going on, a lot of test rugby. What are we talking about? We're talking about the Rugby Championship. And those guys, the Springboks, they've done it again. You may ask what? South Africa retained the Rugby Championship for the first time, securing a thrilling 29-27 win against Argentina at Twickenham. In one of the tightest tournaments in history, the Boks edged out New Zealand by just a solitary point to clinch back-to-back success. Remember, this is the first time that the Springboks are retaining the Rugby Championship. They are already back-to-back Rugby World Cup winners, having won it in 2019 and 2023. And of course, adding this again, Rassie Rasmus definitely pulling off the master stroke. But let's talk about the game between Argentina and South Africa at Twickenham on Saturday. You guys, it was not an easy ride. That match at Twickenham was a roller coaster. Cobus Reinach and Malcolm Marx, they each scored 2 tries. And the famous bomb squad for South Africa, as usual, made their late impact. But there were cracks. Early yellow cards, sloppy handling, and a sin bin for Keenan Moody. I think that nearly cost them. Yeah, it nearly cost them. It proved to be almost costly to the Springboks. But Argentina, they came to fight. And I think after their humiliation in Durban, they regrouped and returned sharper, hungrier, and fearless. Marcos Kramer, Santiago Chocobares, those guys tore into the Bok defense time and again, while Santiago Grodona controlled the game beautifully from number 8. They dominated possession and territory for most of the first half, and they exposed South Africa's discipline issues. But still, Argentina's Achilles heel, the scrum, it let them down again. You guys, when you're playing South Africa, that is a costly weakness. The Springboks, they weathered the storm, they took their chances and showed why they are the world champions. Those guys will find a way to win. So, what's the bigger picture? South Africa, in my opinion, remains the most ruthlessly efficient team in world rugby today. Those guys can win ugly, they can win beautifully, and they can edge out close contests when it matters the most. But let's not forget about Argentina, because Argentina, they're no longer the plucky underdogs of years ago. With players like Kramer, Oviedo, and Rapeti, the Pumas are evolving fast. They are no longer there to compete. They're there also to contend. And guys, that's great for world rugby. But you know what would be greater? If the Simbas would equally be fighting as much as these guys. But hey, we're talking about guys who poured a lot of investment into the game. Well, Twickenham gave us a thriller, brutal, tactical, emotional, and reminded us why the Rugby Championship continues to be the benchmark of elite test rugby. Sorry, was your Six Nations, but it is what it is. I mean, the Rugby Championship is something else. Now, there was another match, and this one featured the All Blacks, and they did what the All Blacks do: dominate Australia. Sorry, Australia fans, but it is what it is. The All Blacks recorded their 11th consecutive victory over Australia, beating the Wallabies 28-14 in Perth. But here's the catch. Don't let the scoreline fool you, because this match was not a walk in the park. The Wallabies, led by the ever-sharp Jake Gordon and the ever-reliable James Slipper, who was playing his final test, those guys pushed New Zealand through with pace and with grit. I think for me, the turning point came just before halftime when Quinta Pear sliced through the Wallabies defense for that decisive try that flipped the momentum. From there, guys like Will Jordan orchestrated the attack like a conductor, dropping into midfield, creating overloads, and forcing the Wallaby defense to narrow. And you hate it when you have to go narrow on your defense. It's not what you'd ideally want, but I mean, situational plays and whatever is happening forces you to be in those kind of scenarios. Peter Lakai, that guy was immense at the breakdown for the All Blacks, as well as Leicester Fainganauku, punching holes out wide, and then Leroy Carter, that guy dazzled with his quick feet and relentless work rate. I think on the day, the All Blacks' precision and structure were the difference. They're not just flashy, or they were not flashy, they were efficient. To paraphrase the late Tanzanian president, John Pombe Magufuli, I mean, for them, it was hapa kazi too. They just played efficient, clinical rugby, and that's what won them the game. But guys, we had a moment of emotion. James Slipper, this guy, this Australian prop, has played 151 tests, 15 years of service in the green and gold of the Wallabies. Quiet leadership, no drama, just work. I think his send-off in Perth, where he also made his debut 15 years ago, was a reminder of what it means to give your all for the jersey. Good people, we've come to the end of episode 50, a milestone episode on 254 Rugby. And we've covered everything from the Safari Sevens to the Floodies, from Twickenham to Perth. You guys, rugby keeps giving us stories worth telling. And here at 254 Rugby, we keep telling them authentically, passionately, and proudly African. Do you know why? Because rugby for us is not just a game. Rugby is culture, it's community and connection. Now, before we wrap up this milestone episode of 254 Rugby, a special mention to La Villa Fitness for making this episode possible. Your support helps us keep that storytelling alive, and that keeps our rugby community alive and inspired. I'm your host, Michael Kwambo, signing off from 254 Rugby, episode 50. Stay passionate, stay proud, and as always, keep the rugby spirit alive. Catch you later.